And I'm next senior, you know, I got our next spot.
Good, how about you?
It is. It's great.
Freezing in this room.
More papers.
I'm like so
Yeah. Sorry about that, by the way.
Oh no, you're fine, it happens.
Also, no, I double checked with David Allen stuff on
It happens.
How does it feel, David?
just like David Allen, but it's my fault too, so.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
So good. Head of the table.
How are you doing? Fine.
It's cold in here. It's freezing here. I'm really glad I brought a sweatshirt today. But I know as soon as I walk outside, I'm like,
That's the issue, is like, it's so hot outside, but when you get in this room.
I can't like dress for this weather because it just so bipolar. Like wearing like jeans outside makes me want to like die, and then I come to this like freezing cold room and I'm just like great. Look, there's love.
No?
I'm always on that side. I don't think I've ever sat on the side.
Feels like the right.
That's part of this conversation.
That's a great way to start.
Russia killed the leader of the group that invaded Russia. They killed the president of that group who invaded Russia every month. They just killed him. So
Okay. I feel like Russia is just kind of doing
you don't really want to kill
Russia
the
is doing Russia things.
you don't really want to kill the person that invaded your country. Because like I think Russia's gonna break into World War II fairly soon.
Bomb. Russia's like, bye.
And then I did
Anyway, I saw that and I had to share. How was your summer?
That's like a great way to bring that.
I know, it's a great, you know.
Russia was like,
I just blew my mind when I saw that earlier. And it's like,
like, I had no idea. I feel like Russia is just kind of like its own.
they really are. Like, as long as we don't get dragged into it.
Yeah, like keep your issues over there. We don't need that.
It's like, how's on your job?
Yeah, for
I want to hear about
keep
it.
your issues to
I want
yourself.
to hear all about it.
I want to hear about it,
But
but
I do not want to, exactly. I want nothing to
I want to know all the tea. But I don't want to get involved in any way, shape, or form. Like, my name should be Buffett. Information.
How was your summer?
Pretty good.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
We're yelling,
that was all. Fraternities are their own little thing. I don't know, it's a little chaotic right now. I'm like not ready for switches because the styles change and like USA. It's just like they're like, okay, we're changing styles, and then they give us like any information ever.
like recruitment styles?
Yeah, so we're because we're doing which is
Yeah.
we're doing survey, which is continuous.
Yeah,
And
I just
basically
read
like
this weekend, so.
it's like 2 or 3 minutes instead.
Oh, and then tell you guys anything about how it's being
But
ordered.
we just like didn't have something else. Yeah, and what requirements are.
Did you hear about that?
A lot of recruitment things, I just kind of like do as I'm told within it. Yeah, that's
what I heard.
That's why it's been so like, it's fun to show us because like my biggest recruitment chair, she's been like, hey, what time is this? Like, what's hard for this? What's
How are you doing?
how's it and things like, we're kind of like going through these just comments. Because they didn't tell us anything. Like we're learning everything.
We can't get you appointed.
It doesn't, it doesn't affect it. That's not how you recruit.
Oh my god, recruit is such a like finicky thing and something people are so much.
Yeah, but I get it so it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
Just don't do that.
Yeah.
There's just
Remix.
switching styles is like right, anyways.
Swell, how are you?
There were some other kids there.
Yes. I'm thankful I haven't had to interact with you too much yet already.
City.
I almost had one on Saturday night.
I think we were supposed to be.
Almost had one.
Oh,
I think it was more
they
just
do
like,
have-
here's what the university wants.
Like that was.
Tell the city what the university.
Okay.
Cool. And the city was
I'm like, I don't know, I
gonna
struggle.
Okay.
what the city was gonna do.
I had total faith.
It was fun though. It was a good,
Oh, yeah.
not a no like shower.
That's a
Just
great,
total, complete,
like,
utterly
do
blind
great.
What?
faith. Just complete trust.
No problem.
No doubt. You say it, I second.
I want to.
You say it, I second.
That's a great one. Oh, yes.
Oh, trust and trust. City Hall.
Yeah. Until something comes up.
And then guns will, yeah, knowledge that.
Then, like, no second possession. Brutal. Mercy. The way it goes.
Wait, no, I think it's against tomorrow. Wait.
But like, you know, avoid personal.
I guess it's more little things I don't know.
She says she has it.
It's just like, it's nice to keep people on their toes. Gotta keep people segregated. Actually, pretty good. It's just
Now we come to this.
yeah, it's a little subway.
What's it?
What's the one like? There's just one kind of like never let them know what you're gonna do next or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Like that. Yeah, that. That's what you gotta be in mind. It's like,
Like, I go back to the video, that's telling me Henry coordinated the whole thing, because I was on scene. It's like, just wait, I was more. At some point, they were like, I am just gonna start off the rails.
just start like jumping off the wall.
You gave me this script, I am gonna find a tangent, I am gonna go.
I'm actually gonna make my own script.
Yeah, I think
I'm
the committee was like a big,
Yeah, the rebels is like,
kind of like the work to do.
You're gonna have to cut the mic off before I get to the shut.
I have to rip it out of my.
IT, are we ready?
Oscar playoff music.
Nothing on
No.
I call the Senate to order at 4 p.m. So first off, we do have a few senators who are new, so if you did not swear in the spring semester, if you can stand up at this time. And please raise your right hand.
Wait, Mira, you were at the inauguration.
At inauguration, you're fine.
If you attended the inauguration or the first Senate meeting, you don't have to, but if you did not do both,
Alrighty, can I have quiet? Thank you. Please repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Ryan Lystico,
will represent and serve
will represent and serve
the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato,
the students of Minnesota State University, Mankato,
in student life
and student life
and academic needs,
and academic needs,
and uphold the mission,
and uphold the mission,
Constitution,
Constitution,
and bylaws
and bylaws
of the student government.
of the student government.
I so affirm.
I so affirm.
Alrighty, we will proceed into a roll call. Senator Hart,
Here.
Senator Henson,
Here.
Senator Tariq, Senator Kisum, thank you, Senator Frawley,
Here.
Senator Ali,
Here.
Senator Sharaf,
Here.
Senator Woldakainen, Senator Woldakainen, Senator Ziti, Senator Nguyen,
Yeah.
Senator Bryant, Senator Asma,
You.
Senator Goma,
Here.
Senator Mohammed,
Here.
Senator Oladeji,
Here.
Senator Liesgo, sorry, Senator Ryan,
Here, likes to go.
let's go, thank you. Senator Andrew,
Here.
Senator Mueller,
Here.
Senator Revere,
Here.
Senator Imedo, Goswell, Senator Bahanu, Senator Bahanu, Senator Hawk, Senator Hawk, Senator Parikh,
Here.
Senator Narala,
Present.
Senator Ja,
Present.
Senator Speltz,
Here.
Speaker Roberts here, President Reuter, Vice President Mesta.
Here.
Alrighty, we will proceed on to the approval of consent agenda. To note, if you haven't had a moment, go ahead and take a moment to just slightly glance at it. I see that there is a motion.
I would wanna make sure that all of the names are written correctly, so we have Abigail, Andrew, and if we could write my name, would that be great?
That can be arranged. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Is there any dissent to those amendments? Seeing no dissent, those amendments are accepted into the consent agenda. Is there any dissent to the consent agenda? Any dissent? Any dissent? Then the consent agenda is approved. Normally, we would do now approval of minutes, that would be a new procedure. However, since this is our first main meeting of the semester, there are no minutes to approve, so we will proceed onwards to presentations. I will jump up there, and we're gonna just have a brief little Senate 101 conversation. Sorry about that, John. So first off, welcome to Senate. Welcome back, all. I'm excited to see all of you back in person, so we can have a wonderful and great semester ahead of ourselves. Some of the main things that I want to discuss, so you are aware. I know some of you are very new. Some of you are incredibly familiar in terms of how Senate operates. But in case you didn't know, here are just a few of the main responsibilities, and I'm just going to kind of mention them off here. Some of your main responsibilities is obviously you need to make sure that you are available each week, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. for the Senate meeting, which all of you are here and doing a great job on doing. You will also have an obligation for office hours. And this will be new to all of you. We're doing something a little different with office hours. We're going to calculate them as a total of office hours, being that you are aiming for the total office hours of 45 hours total. This is in order to recognize that there are weeks that vary. There are weeks that you will have more responsibilities to put together in terms of your relative projects, your relative committees, and recognizing that sometimes you're going to have a really busy couple of weeks where you will have sometimes more than your 6 general hours that would have happened in that period, that sometimes that exceeds that. Or sometimes you're going to have right at the beginning where we're still learning how to get a hang on things. We're still learning how to be a senator, learning how to get involved, and this is kind of that period before we find what committees we want to be on, what type of projects, that generally we will start at that stage where we are not spending as much time. But as the semester goes on, we will find ourselves being able to meet those hours and catch up to still average out to those 3 hours per week. To note, a few examples that will generally count as your office hours. any of the committees you are part of. So that is academic affairs, student affairs. So you might notice that depending on whether you're an academic senator or student affairs senator, so if you are an off-campus senator, for example, then you would be going to student affairs committee, and that would count as one office hour each week running from 3 to 4 p.m. Now, you will have to get engaged with a second committee as time goes on, or more if you wish, and all of those committee hours count as office hours. Additionally, office hours can count as time in which you are communicating directly to your constituency. So if you're taking a meeting, say in the College of Business with one of your constituents, talking about an issue important to them, you can count that as office hours. If you are talking to the dean of College of Business or any dean or any administrator in order to complete your projects that you are coming up with, you can count that as office hours as well. Other elements of office hours might be particular events. So we might mention a number of events coming up in our officer reports where we might mention, oh, there's this event that we want you to go to that will help with student government, outreach, connecting with our student body. All of those hours will always count as office hours as well. Time that you're spending in our office, trying to connect, do work on projects, anything along those lines also count. So really, there is a literal infinite list of things that you can do to get your office hours done. And if there's any question about it, you can reach out to me and I can confirm or say, no, that doesn't quite count as office hours. To note, one thing that would not count as office hours is having a conversation with your friend on something. This needs to be actively engaging with your constituency, actively engaging with your duties as a senator. So it wouldn't be something I'm just hanging out with somebody and that counts as office hours. That would not count as office hours. Something else in terms of your responsibilities is your committee responsibilities. I mentioned it just a moment ago, but you need to serve at a minimum on 2 different committees. Conveniently, all of you are guaranteed on one committee as is. That is whether you are an academic senator, so if you are representing a particular college, you would be, as I said earlier, academic affairs, and that would count as the one committee you've already been assigned. What you will want to begin to think about, and we can discuss, we will have plenty of time for you to sign up for meetings, whether that's with President Reuter or with Vice President Mesta or with me. We can kind of find out what interest you are interested in, and we can get you set up for committees and find out what do you want to work on that aligns with your interests and get you involved to meeting your committee requirements as a senator. A few additional notes on this subject in terms of requirements. We generally require you to actively engage with at least one project. Some senators will engage themselves with multiple projects. They'll work on a set of small projects. Some senators will work on some multiple large projects. And those are just big ideas of things that you want to see improved on campus. Our goal is for you to have the ability to leave the legacy you want to leave on this campus. So when thinking of that project, if you have no idea what it is yet, that is okay. But in the coming weeks, we will work with you to coming up with those ideas so you can have a successful project and even give you some tools to guide you through a project timeline, a strategic plan, so you can get yourselves set up to have a successful project to leave the legacy you want to leave on this campus. A few additional notes as we are in this Senate. As a reminder, we will always want to be respectful. So when there is a senator recognized, so all you will have to do, and we'll have some placards for the next meeting, and we'll talk about how you can get signed up for your placards if you need new placards, because I noticed that we're missing quite a few placards, and that's perfectly fine. To raise your hand or put your placard up to let us know that you want to speak or you want to ask a question on a subject, because we want to go around one at a time to be respectful to one another, to make sure that we're not talking over one another, and to recognize the speaker that is currently engaged. So making sure that we are being respectful to one another, making sure that we're respecting one another is a critical component, especially in the Senate meetings, but especially outside. That when we are trying to be a good senator, we want to make sure that we are listening first and doing second after we have fully listened to that full picture. The other thing that I will mention in this period of the Senate 101 is a few kind of handy-dandy motions, and you might want to write some of these down. One of these motions that might potentially occasionally interest you, and this might be relevant as we do actually have a resolution today that we're beginning to work with. You might want to potentially send out a motion to amend something. So you might potentially say, I have different language I would like to propose. I see this resolution and I see there's something missing. There's a piece of content. Then you would raise your placard and wait to be recognized. And then when you are asked, you would say, I have a motion to amend the resolution. And then I would be, okay, what is that motion that you have? What is that amendment that you have? And then you would tell us exactly whatever clause that might be. Obviously, we will discuss in more detail exactly how we're going to approach writing. That shocked me. How we're going to approach writing those particular language elements in terms of those resolutions. But we will be discussing that more comprehensively in committee. Another helpful motion, and we're going to be approaching this more regularly this year, is the motion to refer. And that is a motion to refer something to a committee. For example, I might potentially recommend referring today's resolution over to the joint committee that is going to happen next week, so you have the opportunity to discuss this particular resolution, to bring it back down to the committee level so it can be fully discussed there. So you would just make motion to refer. I would like to refer it to academic affairs and student affairs. And that's just an example. A few other. It's always going to scare me. A few other handy motions is the motion to recess. So if you're realizing, oh, the room seems to, we need a sort of a break, we might make a motion to recess, to take a short break. And you would just say a motion to recess, and then you would tell me however long that might be. Another really common one, and this is the last one I'm just going to mention in this time, and we will talk further. I will be handing out a sheet to all of you of common motions for next week, is to move to previous question, which is basically to say, or the term call the question. Both are used to basically say, I want to end the debate that we are having, and I want to go straight to voting on whatever we are debating. With that, I will go ahead and yield to questions on this Senate 101, super basic, and we will get way more detail as time goes on.
So, for the senators, you mentioned that one of the requirements is that they must work on a project. What does that entail? Does it mean like you can make it into an event, or is it more so based on like just like a project making some kind of a change, or bringing something?
As a reminder for the future, and it's a little difficult because I'm up here, usually I'd be over there to raise your hand and wait until you're recognized as Senator Mohammed. But yes, it could be a potential event. I have seen plenty of senators want to put up a project, putting up a specific event that they would like to see on campus. Whether that might be a better opportunity for an international student kind of fair event I've seen done. It can be event. It could be a project of, I want to see this policy change at this university. You work to changing that policy, or I want to, for example, Roshit's Senator Narala's project from last year, the wayfinding project of creating a way for us to understand how to get through Trafton on an easier basis. It really can be any project, big or small. Are there any other questions? Senator Asma?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, I want to work for healthcare projects for the students. So, how to proceed with that? Like, to whom I should meet? Is it like healthcare department of our university or what?
I don't have the to answer that question. I don't have everything to answer that question. I know healthcare is an interesting subject, but I do know that we have our wonderful student health services here that might be able to better clarify on that. So if somebody might want to yield to our wonderful student health services, they might be able to help answer that question.
Hi, I'm Nancy. I answer the Director of Student Health Services. I think it all just depends on if you're looking into more of like health sciences area, like academic, or if it's more of the medical field. We can certainly work with you. I do think I have your information. I emailed you last semester, but I can send you an email and we can get started with that, and I'll just see what you're more looking for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Senator Revere?
My question is, who determined what time we meet?
I
Who
mean,
made the schedule like we all meet at 4 o'clock?
I suppose it's been by tradition. I don't believe there's actually somewhere in the Constitution and bylaws that forces the 4 to 6 p.m. time, though it has been done pretty consistently for a very long time as a general time, so people are aware of the time commitment and when it happens a semester in advance. So
Can we like convene during like when all the senators all together and make a vote and come up with a time that benefit all of us? Cause I see somebody walked in late. She probably had a class. I have a class during this time, and I don't see the rest of the senators that's supposed to be here right now. So I think we all deserve a vote on what time we meet.
okay. In terms of answering that, that would have to be something that would be discussed further and discussed probably not during the Senate time to figure out something. But I do not have the exact answer on that. That would be a cabinet discussion first, and then we can discuss from there. And I probably actually might defer a little bit of advice from our wonderful advisor John on this question.
I'm looking here, and it's something for further discussion. I will tell you that when you've got as many people as you do around a table like this, you're never going to find a time that works for everybody.
I mean,
That's just the reality.
Yeah, I understand that. I was just, because we're modeled off of democracy, so I was just like, we all deserve the input.
I second.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Senator Revere, do you have another question?
Oh, no.
Seeing no questions, that is presentations. Alrighty. With that being said, we will go on to open forum. Are there any open forum? Yes?
Hi, my name is Kellyanne Klink. I'm a librarian, and I've been here for 37 years. And when you guys are talking projects, I am your information lady. So if there's something you're interested in, could be as wide-ranging as he said, like policy. You could want to paint every single wall in the entire university pink. in recognition of Barbie, or whatever. But you know, like whatever notion that you've got, I shared with the president. There's a handout that I made a long time ago saying like, you know, what's the issue? Have you checked out who is responsible for it? Like, is it this group at all? It's got like recommendations about different databases to look at, different university policies, state law, et cetera, et cetera. So if any of you would love to meet with me, because after all, I'm so charming and wonderful, then you just have to set up an email with me, and I can go through. There's a sheet, there's a handout, there's a brainstorming thing. I have a lot of handouts that I can help you think through, like, what do you really care about? What are you really super passionate about? And let's get the data. Because if you take anything to Dr. Jones, he's going to say, where's the data? He's going to want the information, he's going to want the evidence. He's not going to let you paint every wall in the University pink. Not going to happen, you know? You'd have to have evidence to say that that was a great idea. Okay, so anyway, my name is Kellyanne Klink. I'm at the library. I've done like most of the student affairs classes. I have like 2 unfinished masters and 3 finished ones and a lot of coursework. So anyway, I love students with all my heart. I just think that this is an amazing enterprise that you are embarking on, and any way that I can assist you, support you, and give you evidence for any ideas you want to pursue, I'm your gal. Okay? Okay. Any questions?
Are there any questions? Any questions? Senator Sharaf?
So, how would we find you in the library, and how would we know that we can distract you? Maybe you have office hours?
My email address is kellianklink@mnsu.edu. Just shoot me an email. I'll figure out a time when we can meet. Doesn't have to be between 9 and 5. I can meet when you guys can meet, so we'll figure it out. And we can say Zoom, my office, whatever. I do have a glass jar full of chocolates in my office, so there's the bribery right there. So, yeah, come visit me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you so much, Kellyanne Klink. Are there any other open forum presentations? Yes, back there. I cannot see your head. David Cowan.
Senator, Mr. Speaker, the Student Senate has many programs. One of those that you inaugurated here 2 years ago is the electric foot scooter program. And I'm here to tell you that in 4 days last week, we had 1,200 rides. So this is pretty exceptional for an institution of our size to have that many bird rides. And we have a new bookstore manager, or management company. It used to be Barnes & Noble for 24 years, and now we have a Follett Higher Education Group out of Chicago. Follett has brick and mortar stores in St. Cloud and other places, about 500 of them. Barnes & Noble has about 400 of them. They are chief and fierce competitors, but this time Follett's out of Chicago. It's now called the Maverick Shop instead of the Barnes & Noble bookstore. So that's new. And Mr. Speaker, we have sold and activated 5,000 parking permits in the past 5 days. And one of those, that does not count the 800 some that have registered for the free lot 22 and lot 23 north and south, and lot 22 south. And so that's been working out. And I'm afraid to ask for any questions, particularly on parking. Let's talk busing. The buses are full. And this is another thing, Mr. Speaker, that the Student Senate has funded and supported and pitched in their programs. So that's working. So that's all I have to just give you an update on.
Thank you, Mr. Cowan. Do we have questions? Trinity?
I tried to buy a gold parking pass and it wasn't on the list. Are they all sold out?
Yes, we have 1,000 gold close-in parking stalls, and about 200 of them are owned by students, but that's not you. So I'm sorry about that. I would gladly take your money, but you had to get in there a little earlier. But we have a full house there too.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Senator Revere?
I have a question for you real quick. You who we come to, we have any problems with parking? Or when we have like a project when it comes to that?
Yes, I'm chairman of the Parking and Transportation Committee, and which you will be appointing members to. And I want to thank, I don't see them all here, who worked on that? Oh, well, there's our vice president right here. Vice president helped on the bus contract to make sure that the routes that we had last year would be continued this year. So for the time that you spent on helping getting that complicated bus contract, and it's 12 bus routes in, thank you, Mr. Vice President. Be sure that I mention this in case there's any disruption or complaints about the bus service. You have a go-to person right over there. Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Senator Leistikow.
Yeah. Pat, last year I looked into getting, or asked about getting some new bus wraps put on, just because they have been around for quite a while and they're starting to get antiquated. I was curious if there's any updates on potentially getting new wraps on some of the buses.
Some of the wraps are faded and getting old, and it's about $8,000 per 40-foot bus to have them wrapped. And so the university's PR office is working, integrated marketing they call it, is working with Mankato Transit to update the wraps, particularly the ones that are faded and starting to crack and peel. But none of that is student money. None of that is your green transportation fee that is $500,000, $400,000 that bus pays for the buses. We are anticipating, by the way, Mr. Speaker, 500,000 rides in our 8.5 months of this academic year. This is what we had 2018-19, and then we had the pandemic, and now last year we had half of that number. I think this year, based on the last few days, we might actually achieve our $500,000 ridership goal for the big buses. And your $400,000 of student activity money makes those buses roll. So thank you.
Are there any further questions? Senator Mohammed?
How's the bookstore going? Is it up online? Everything's as expected?
Well, there are always bumps in the road when you move one company out and put another company in. It's a brick and mortar store. It's a $5 million a year operation, of which about $600,000 comes back in the form of scholarship commissions, which they're then given out to the deans and the financial aid office. But yes, there were some bumps in the road, and it is to be expected with that kind of operation, but I think we've resolved them day by day. Now, I don't know what'll happen tomorrow, but so far I haven't heard that the students aren't getting their books, which is the biggest and the most critical of our goals.
Are there any further questions? Any questions? Any questions? Thank you so much, David Cowan. Is there anyone else for open forum? Yes.
So my name is Sandy Schnarrenberg. I'm the Director of University Security here at MSU. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of you back. We've had a great start to the year so far. Lots of activity, excitement going on. I'm not going to confess that my department handles parking enforcement, though. Please refer those questions or complaints to David. But that is one of the things, unfortunately, that we do. I would encourage your constituents to go on David's wonderful website and read the parking handbook, because that is probably our number one activity this week, is handling students parking in the wrong places and not happy when they get a ticket. But we also respond to calls for service. We patrol the campus. We have safe walks. Students that are out and about on campus, maybe not feeling safe walking from place to place, can call our office, and one of our staff will go walk you from your one location to the other. We also do the emergency notifications on campus, encourage your family and friends. You can sign up them to receive our star alerts if they're so interested in finding out what's going on campus. Also, please put our phone number 507-389-2111 into your phone. If you have safety or security concerns, please call. And I know some of you will be on the Public Safety Committee eventually. If you guys have questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to either myself or any one of my staff. And we'll do our best to help you out and answer concerns. But we handle a liaison to Mankato DPS. We work closely with them, both police and fire and ambulance service. We have an EMT program on campus. We'll respond to medicals as well. So we do a lot of things: keys, cameras, card access, jack of all trades. But last but not least, our favorite is parking for David. So I yield to questions if you have any.
Are there any questions? Senator Ozma?
I just want to know that if a student is walking late at night, somewhat around from library at around 10 or late after doing the assignment, so is it the right thing to walk? Is it like we are secure to walk in the university, or is there any assistance that we need to go while walking late at night?
Well, I am proud to say that our campus is actually very safe, and Mankato in general is a very safe community. I'm not going to say we don't have crime that happens here or off campus in the community, because like any place, we would be subject to that. But overall, if you go online to our website, our annual safety and security report from last year, actually we're a year behind. Usually 2022 is out there. October 1st, we'll be sending out via email our October first deadline is for 2022 calls for service that we will, our statistics, but we have very rare crime that occurs of any kind of nature that would be unsafe for people to walk around. So we offer it. Some people just don't feel as secure as others in walking from, say, the library back to the res halls. We offer it as a service. It is a very underutilized service, so generally I think people pair up with their friends or just feel safe. I walk around campus at night and feel safe, so I wouldn't tell you to do something I don't recommend, but definitely if you don't feel safe, we will offer that as an option.
Thank you.
I think you have to be recognized.
Sorry,
as
Senator over here.
Okay.
Does that option apply to like even going to the parking lot? Just a question.
Anywhere on campus, yep, and actually Stadium Heights is, yes, we will, even though you go off campus to get back on campus, we consider that campus property, so we will walk people over there.
Might as well drive. It's kind of.
Senator Goma?
So I have a question for you. I recently saw some people are smoking on campus. Do you have any idea why people are violating the law of like non-smoke area on campus, and what do you do about that right now?
Well, we don't have any smoking on campus. Unfortunately, we don't really have, other than telling people not to do it, we don't really have any sanctions really that happen if they do get caught. We do have the new marijuana laws that are on campus or in the state of Minnesota, but we can't allow it on campus because we accept federal financial aid, and it's against federal law to possess or use marijuana in any amount. So I would simply suggest either asking, because by the time we get there, if you call us, they're probably not going to be there anymore, asking them yourself to please respect the no campus or the no smoking on campus policy. Or if you see an officer, flag them down and we'll ask, but really there's not a strong penalty for violating. We can refer to student conduct for people who are violating university policies. And I'm assuming that they will remind them of the rules the first time. I don't know what would happen for subsequent violations. But yeah, there's gonna be vaping especially, with the vape pens, people pull it out of their pocket, quick vape and put it back in. So they're really hard to catch and stop. You're welcome. I wish there were more. I wish more people would just obey the rules.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Anyone else for open forum? Alrighty, with that, then we will go on to officer reports. Starting off with President Roiger. President Roiger does not appear to be present, so we will proceed on to Vice President Mesta's report. Oh,
she is.
There you
Okay.
are. We cannot hear ya. IT, can we get some assistance here?
TV's muted.
Is she on mute?
Our side is muted.
Okay, our side is muted. Hey, IT, if anyone of IT is with us. If someone, yeah, let's see if we can.
Get Robert to send a message.
For the sake of time, let's go ahead and jump down to Vice President Mesta's report, and then we'll jump back up to President Roiger's report.
Hi everyone. So, hope you guys are excited. We are on the first week back of school. So, you guys are feeling the joys. We have one of the increase in student enrollment this year, so the vibe is back. But some updates over the summer. One of the projects that was worked on by former Vice President Ibrahim was the Reflection Lounge officially being moved into a closed space. So if you see right over on the other side, 256, we have an official Reflection Lounge that's no longer in the hallway. So that was accomplished by the work of one of our former vice presidents, and that we saw the continuation, the finish of during the summer. Another thing that we've discussed is DEI trainings. So starting in like mid-September, we'll have our inequity training in one of our joint committees. This will not be a one and done. This will be a series of equity trainings to really uplift the voices of students, because everyone here represents constituency of different types of students, and it's making sure that you guys are outside of your own bubble and be able to represent and be equitable minded, since we do have power in this in these positions. And then last thing, this is a major thing, we do not have senator pay anymore. In our last budget meeting, the budget cut that was decreased was the senator pay. So when we made that vote at the budget meeting, it was cut. It wasn't informed to us very well that it was senator pay, but it was. So we do not have senator pay for this academic year. It is zero, unfortunately. Now we'll try to see if we have something to maybe do like, I don't know, prizes or like some type of thing, but as of right now, we do not offer senator pay since it was cut. We found this out during the summer. Any questions on that?
Are there any questions for Vice President Mesta? Senator Revere, do you have a question?
Okay. And then last two things, we have tabling events. And Speaker Roberts, are these considered office hours?
Absolutely. Tabling is definitely office hours.
So our first event is the MAV Fair. So this will be next Wednesday. I do not remember the time, unfortunately, but I know it's during like noon, somewhere around there. So I'll pass it over to Mark.
10:30 to 1.
10:30 to 1. I will be passing out sign-up sheets. And then we have another event coming up. It is the first football game of the year. This will be September 9th. from 4 p.m. I'm going to pass it to John to clarify the time.
Game time is 6 o'clock. You were gonna check and see what time the gates open, so
Yes.
from just shortly before gates open until the end of the first quarter.
So normally it'll be 3 to 4 o'clock is when gates will open, so there's tailgating and tabling. So, but if you guys have availability to attend either the sign-up sheet for next week's tabling, and then for the September 9th game, I will send up sign-up sheets for you guys to sign up, but these do count as office hours.
Just to clarify, at the game, many of you saw, or if you were at the Backyard Bash last Friday, we gave away gray t-shirts that say Cato across the front of them. Student government is a sponsor of those, and so at that first home football game, that's what you're gonna be giving away. Is there'll be a table on either side of the football stadium, you'll be handing out t-shirts to students. So, that's what that is. So, we've got probably about 1,000 of them to get rid of. Speaking of which, as a sponsor, student government, every one of you gets one of those shirts. If you would like to come with me after this meeting to get your shirts, you can do so. Otherwise, you can wait until that day and take a chance on there being some.
Alrighty, do you have anything else? And as a reminder for the whole room, make sure to silence your electronic devices. Electronic devices are permitted just so long as they are silenced while using them. Vice President Mesta, do you have anything else that you wish to add?
Nope.
Okay. Are there any questions for Vice President Mesta? Any questions? Any questions? Alrighty, then we will revert back to President Roiger's report.
It's still
Is it still muted? That's great. Yes.
Sierra, can you send us a text of what you have to say so we can just read it out?
I think they had some technical difficulties today.
Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, so then we will jump down to, if everything is okay, to jump down to my report. So first off, you might notice, if you've stopped by the student government office, you have a wonderful mailbox there that has your name on it, and it is collecting mail. So there are a couple different things in there that you might want to check out. Stop by student government office. That's CSU 280 for those who have never been down to the student government office. Basically, you would go out over there, around, and all the way back to the back, and you will be at the student government office. So please come collect your mail. There is mail waiting in your mailboxes, and the hope is that that throughout the year you just kind of check to make sure that you're grabbing stuff that is relevant to you out of your mailbox. Second thing, you might be noticing some wonderful notepads in front of you, and I see that some of you are using these. These are for you for the entire year to kind of keep track of notes for Senate, any meetings that you have, to kind of just have that better record of what's going on. If you want to leave them kind of with student government, with me, then just, put your name on top of it, and I can put it in your mailbox to kind of hold, and then, bring it out during the Senate meetings if you want me to hold them or anything along those lines, so you always have access to your notepads. The other one I just mentioned, but we will be permitting electronics in Senate, so if you want to have your computer, you absolutely can, and the reason being for that is that we are moving towards a more digital environment. So you might notice there is 1 trillion papers in front of you. We are going to begin phasing out this semester paper usage other than a notepad to conserve paper and to meet the university president's goal to basically eliminate all of this printing that we use. So you will notice that you will be able to just check using your device to keep track of where you are, where we are in the agenda, where we might be in a particular resolution. But we will also be doing a few other experiments using Mav Central, potentially to meet a request that has been made for a while on being able to keep track of how senators vote on particular issues, to be able to report those out as requested by different constituencies, to have a better record of how y'all are voting. The other thing that I will note, and I will be passing this around here, is there's this thing that you will do called senator reports, and you will have 2 of them each semester, and you'll be signing them up on a particular, any Wednesday, any 2 different Wednesdays. I recommend that you spread these out, and we'll talk about these for sure in more detail during committee next week to kind of give you an idea of what your goals are. But we will have a senator report today, so you'll kind of have an example of what a senator report might look like for you to kind of have an example of what they generally look like. So I'm going to send this pad around for you to sign up tentatively for a couple of dates. So just kind of go and look at your calendar and see when are those best 2 dates for you to kind of put together a little bit of a senator report. And these are very short. These are not very long. This is where you would explain your project or what you've been doing in terms of serving your constituency and those kinds of things during that report. With that, I will go ahead and yield to questions. Senator Revere?
I just want to ask, could we get that date to you a later time instead of
Absolutely. You don't need to get those, though I will be checking through and I'll send you an email if you don't have your dates down yet. I understand that some of you might be like, I don't know yet because I don't know where I'm at yet and I'm still figuring out what type of projects I want to get into, and that's perfectly fine. We will definitely have our own separate meetings to kind of help guide you that way, and so you can reach out and figure out what those best times will be for you. Any other questions? Any other questions? Alrighty, do we have President Roiger's report?
So I'll just read this verbatim. Hello everyone, my apologies that I couldn't be with you all today, but I unfortunately am out sick today. A few things I've got include Student United Board training happened over the summer and I was able to get with other 6 student body presidents to start discussing our priorities for the year. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. Second, my office hours will be crazy for 2 weeks as I am figuring out my schedule with athletics work, study, and student government meetings. By the second week of September, I will have these down and posted on my office door. For now, that is all I have, and I can't wait to be back with you next week.
Alrighty, are there any questions? I understand that President Roiger is not, may not be available, but if we might be able to get a digital response to you. So are there any questions for President Roiger? Any questions? Any questions? Alrighty, thank you. We unfortunately do not have our Dean of the Day with us. They unfortunately had to cancel, but that would have been Dean Veltzos. We hope to see them next time when they are available to come in and join us, but unfortunately they could not. Some things came up at the last moment for them. So with that being said, we will proceed onwards to Senator reports, and we will hear our Senator report from Senator Narala.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It feels good to be back. It feels good to see a lot of friendly faces back at the table and a lot of new faces. Welcome everyone to Senate. I'm Roshit Nirola. I'm a Student Life Off-Campus Senator and the Academic Affairs Coordinator for Student Government for the academic year 2023-2024. And I'm giving the first Senator report of the academic year to give you a small update on a project that I've been working on since last academic year, the Wayfinding Project. To give you a little bit of an overview, last semester, MNSU Student Government collaborated with MNSU Computer Science Department to find a wayfinding application across the campus. Our initial goal was to map out Trafton Science Center and figure out wayfinding algorithms that are accessible for navigation, that take account into elevators, power doors, indoor routes, and a lot of other fun stuffs. The students in computer science department were able to use their theoretical knowledge into implementation of real-life application development that we eventually would be doing in industry, so that was pretty cool. And on August 18th, me alongside Senator Parekh and Vice President Mesta gave our pitch for the second iteration of the project. Last semester, we were able to develop the components that would run the application. One of our major deliverables this semester is to create the application based on all of the deliverables that we were able to achieve, and to have a working application ready and up for testing as soon as possible. So fingers crossed, over the next week, I'll be giving you a lot of more updates about the project, and we'll be able to develop a MVP product of the wayfinding application. At this point, I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Senator Narala. Are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Thank you. Oh wait, Senator Goma.
I just want to say thank you as a mechanical engineering going to Trafton. It's hard. I just been seeing freshmen get lost, and thank you for what you did.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Oladeji.
So how will the MVP be distributed for testing?
That, my friend, is still under works. We're looking at a bunch of different diverse cultures to test the application once it's up and running. But the initial population that would probably be testing would include university administration and a bunch of students who regularly go to Trafton. There are a couple of ideas that are being thrown around about sending the application initially to professors who have classrooms specifically in Trafton, so they're able to regulate the application to the students who need to get to Trafton. But that is still something that we're under discussion.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Any other questions? Thank you so much, Senator Narala.
Thank you.
With that, we have a few vacancies coming up. None of them are open today, but quite a few will be opening next week and the week following. So first off-campus senator will open on September 6th. And then we will have, starting next week, elections for 3 Res Life senator positions on August 30th, as well as a graduate studies senator that is opening as well for next week. So if you know people, please reach out to folks. With that being, we'll proceed onwards to new business for the meme wall resolution, which is motioned by Vice President Mesta and seconded by Senator Narala. Vice President Mesta, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes. Hi everyone. So today I am bringing the meme wall resolution. So one of our goals right now is to kind of get you guys into the use of resolution building. So one of the things that Narala and I worked on was creating this meme wall resolution. This was a project that was created by former Vice President Ibrahim, and that I, as the PR marketing coordinator at the time, implemented over the past year. So one of the things that this brings is brings a calmness and a reason to come to the office. A way to just be, come in, we're not serious, it's like a fun way to just engage. So our goal for this is to, 1, commemorate our former vice president and all the work she's done, but also have a fun atmosphere in our office. So we think this is like a fun activity to do in our office, a way to engage with you guys and the student community as a whole. But it's also a way for us to kind of show you the structure of how a resolution will be worked on for the next following year. And I'll pass it on over to Senator Narala.
Senator Narala, do you wish to speak on your second?
Yes, thank you, Speaker Roberts. Kind of just to bounce off of what Vice President Mesta mentioned, over the summer, the Vice President worked on a lot of different resolutions, which we will be bringing forward over the next couple of weeks. One of those was the meme wall resolution. Now, for those of you who are new at the table who don't know what the meme wall was, we did have a meme wall over at Student Government Office that was managed by our PR coordinator that used to have fun pictures, fun moments that we senators had, and was just a really fun place that we could share our jokes and play around with when we're hanging out at the office. And this resolution is intending for three things that the Vice President already mentioned. One of them being creating an inclusive and welcoming environment so that we can invite more student body into our student government office. The second, to honor the past Vice President who brought forward the meme wall that we had in our office. And third, just to help you get a friendly refresher on what resolutions are, how we introduce those, what discussions would happen when a resolution is introduced at the table, and to help you get used to the whole resolution process. And with that, I yield for questions.
Are there any questions on the resolution? Senator Asma.
Actually, maybe this is like a very stupid question. I just want to know whether do we have any such wall for in our university for our all students, so that every student in the university can utilize it. Is it there, or it's only for our student government?
So this is only for the student government office.
Okay.
That we would create this meme wall in.
Why don't we create for all students somewhere in our university?
I think for that one it depends on the offices and the university place if they want to implement it in their
It's
spaces.
not like a general thing.
I will remind the senator to only ask one question at a time. If they wish to be recognized for additional questions, please just raise your hand for an additional question. Senator Rala, do you have an answer to that?
I had an answer to, well, we do have a lot of different walls around campus that post a lot of different things. We did have walls even in student government office where we asked students what they felt the student government should be advocating for the first week off campus. This resolution specifically looks forward to addressing a meme wall that we want to create in our office space.
Thank you.
Senator Mohammed, do you have a question?
I have a motion, actually.
Motion? What is the motion?
Well, I think that it was great that, you're speaker and stuff, but I think that sometimes you might come off a little bit not so, like, great.
I apologize. That was not intended. I apologize.
No, I don't think you have that. I don't think you have ill intent. I think it's just something that I want to bring to your attention.
It is noted. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Alrighty, are there any talking points on the motion? Senator Rala?
There is a friendly amendment that I think we missed. Seconded by Senator Nirola, the spelling. If we could get that fixed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, friendly amendment, I accept it. I think this was updated from the top, so.
Are there any other talking points? Any other talking points? Then per process, then this will move to old business and be continued for next week. We have no old business, so we will proceed onwards to announcements. Are there any announcements? John.
Thank you, Speaker Roberts. Welcome back, everybody. I serve as the advisor to student government. I'm also the assistant director for student activities. I work downstairs at the other end of the far end of the building. You can't miss me. I spend more time here than I do at home, so it's pretty easy to find me sometimes. Typically, if I have something to bring up, I'll do so during the announcements section of the agenda, unless I have to leave early, and then I'll do it during the open forum. But I typically will give some updates and then also some words of encouragement and talking about how I can try to help you accomplish your goals as a Senate. So first, I'm going to mention some of the things going on. It's a very busy time of the year, as we know. Lots of activity going on and lots of stuff coming out of the Student Activities Office where I work. Tonight and tomorrow night, the fraternity and sorority community have some social events to allow students who may be considering membership the opportunity to meet and mingle with members. Those are free. The fraternity community has one tonight from 8 to 10 p.m. down in the bullpen, and the sorority community has one from 8 to 10 tomorrow night in CSU 245. That's open and free to all students, and no pressure, no obligation, but just an opportunity to meet and mingle with members and decide if membership might be something they'd like to pursue. On Friday night, the student events team is hosting the foam party out on the CSU loading dock. So that's always a well-anticipated event. The weather has not cooperated the past couple of years, but this year it looks like it's going to do so very nicely. And so that should be a great event out on the CSU loading dock, again, open and free to all students. The homecoming concert was announced on Saturday. The homecoming concert is Kid Ink, and tickets went quote-unquote on sale Tuesday morning, meaning that they were open to students. The first 1,000 students get a free ticket. After that, there is a fee, there is a cost to the tickets. I'm not sure where they are in the ticket sales, but I do know that there was likely a rush yesterday morning on getting those tickets. So if you would like to get your homecoming ticket, please go on to mnsuevents.com and get those pronto so that you can do so. Next Wednesday, the 30th, is the Involvement Fair hosted by the Maverick Involvement Team. So there's that opportunity out on it's in conjunction with the CSU Mall Fest that is going on out on the CSU Mall. So free lunch and petting zoo and all that kind of good stuff. So those are the things that I just wanted to bring up out of the Student Activities Office. RSO recognition is open. You meet and mingle with a whole bunch of student organizations on campus, so please remind them to start getting that. There is a session tomorrow afternoon. Blanking on the time. I know it's in Mav Central, but there's a session tomorrow afternoon that's an intro for the re-recognition process for student organizations, and that's being hosted by Michelle Harvey out of our office as well. As you'll hear me say, if you've seen me around this table for a while, I oftentimes ask you to think about what you want your legacy to be when you are done with your term in office. When you are done in May and you look back and you go, what did I accomplish this year? What do you want the answer to that question to be? And so I think now is the time to start thinking about where you're going to make your impact for students on campus and make sure that you leave a lasting impact. So start thinking about that. If you're stuck with what to do, talk to your leadership. They've been around for a while. They know what to do. If you have questions about how to navigate stuff, they're your first layer to try to find out where to go. Otherwise, I can help as well. But again, you've got experienced student leaders sitting at the head of this table who can help point you in the right direction. So I would encourage you to that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to have big ideas. Don't be afraid to ask what's been tried, because that's one thing that I want to encourage you to do. There are some things that people have tried before, and they might have learned, and there might be lessons somewhere for them to have shared with you about what works, what hasn't, and what might be something to avoid or to move forward with. Another thing I'm going to encourage you, whenever you have a meeting, whether it's this or your committee meetings that start, or if you serve on a committee that's a university-wide committee, remember that you're representing student government and students, and so you want to look like you're there. You are prepared to be there and prepared to be a contributing member of those groups and committees. And so always want to remind you to be prepared for any situation that you go into. So don't show up if they have something and send out notes or something to read and prepare before the meeting. Be sure you do it. Be sure you take a look at the agenda that Speaker Roberts will send out before your meetings and make sure that you are prepared. And if you have questions about anything on that agenda, or if you've proposed a piece of legislation that's not on the agenda, email Speaker Roberts to let them know that it should be back on the agenda. As they mentioned, we are going to go to a paperless meeting format, so you're not going to get printouts of agendas for every meeting. You will be added to a Microsoft Team channel that's within student government within the next week. Either one of the student leaders will add you to that, or Amber, the student government office manager, has access to do that as well. So, but you'll be added, and there will be a folder for meeting agendas and all of that stuff that you'll be able to access. If we get something from a presenter and there's a PowerPoint presentation or there are notes, you'll have the ability to access those either before or shortly after the meetings take place. But always, 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 regardless of which meeting you're going into, go in there to represent the students and make them proud and be prepared for those meetings when you have them. So again, I am here to try to help you achieve your goals and all of that. I'll be doing a presentation next week that actually talks about some of the structure of the university. It'll talk about bargaining units. It'll talk about administrative layers and all of that. So I'll be speaking to that a little bit more in depth. But don't be afraid to ask questions of experienced student leaders and myself. And the people around this room are here because they're interested in what you're doing too. So some of them will make it to every meeting. Some of them will pop in periodically. But don't be afraid to ask questions of them as well. So I will stand for questions.
Are there any questions for John? Any questions? Any questions? Senator Revere?
About the update with the remember last week they had with the
Mav Central?
Not Mav Central, but with all the faculty and staff. Was there a resolve in the negotiations?
Yes, so there is, for those of you who were part of the conversation, you know that there were conversations regarding the administrative and service faculty. Last Monday night, a last, best, and final offer was made by the Minn-State system, and that's triggered a process that results in a review of that offer and a vote to be taken by the membership. So for the time being, there will be no strike. A strike has been averted for now. The membership of that bargaining unit will be voting on the contract starting next week. And so we will know further then. So the vote starts next Thursday, I believe is when it actually starts. And so shortly after that, we would know the results of that. But for right now, there is no strike plan to happen.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other questions? Any other questions? Senator, I'm gonna get it, I promise you.
Leistico.
Lestigo.
Leistico.
Leistigo.
Not a question, more of a comment. As of 4 o'clock yesterday, Kid Inc. ticket sales were 50% gone for the free tickets. So,
Okay. There you go. There's your answer.
over 500 tickets.
Are there any other announcements? Senator Ozma?
Actually, I just want to work for Student Healthcare Services project for whole this semester. So is it like because I want to I got some plans and I want to bring some new policies and some changes in the old policies. So should I stick to only one thing, or is it like I'm going to be shifted from student healthcare project or to some other?
So in terms of, I'm just gonna go ahead and answer that. In terms of a project, you can have more than one if you would like. You can have as many as you would like. While I am not necessarily supposed to have an opinion on projects, I do think that that sounds like a very good project for you. And I am excited to see where your project takes you or projects.
Thank you.
Senator Shroff?
Welcome back, everyone. So this semester I am coordinating public relations and marketing committee, and I would love to have people there. So if you want to enhance our social media, create community, showcase and just show resources that we have on campus for our new students and current students, please come visit me and I'll get you ready for participating in PR and marketing committee.
Vice President Mesta?
So I just guys want to introduce you guys to our expanded cabinet, our new coordinators. So first up is our academic affairs coordinator will be Roshit Narala. So for any of our academic colleges, you'll be meeting with Narala during academic committee meetings. Our student affairs coordinator will be Nidhi Parak. Any of our off-campus Res Life students will be meeting with her for committee meetings. And
Senator Parekh.
Parekh?
Parekh. Yeah.
Parekh,
okay.
okay, Parekh. I will get names better. Just let me know if I'm saying it wrong. And then our public relations market coordinator is Amal. Our diversity, equity, inclusion coordinator is Jordan Mueller. Our legislative affairs coordinator, who will handle our ledge stuff, will be Abby. And then our basic needs coordinator will be Trinity Bryant. This is our expanded cabinet. So if you guys have any questions or any projects over the years, these will be one of the go-to people to help support that while being with the cabinet. But I hope everyone has a good day.
John?
Thank you once again, Speaker Roberts. I forgot to announce, and for those of you who follow the actions of the Board of Trustees, you may be aware of this, but last year and every March we go through a budget process whereby student government develops a budget that deals with student fees on campus. Okay, those student fees that you develop the budget or you recommend the budgets for are student health services fee, the technology fee, the intercollegiate athletics fee, the student union fee, and the student activity fee. Our university was up against a board mandated cap, Board of Trustees mandated cap on that student activity fee. And so you were stuck between a rock and a hard spot, basically. Costs are increasing, but your ability to increase revenue wasn't there at the time. And so student government was forced to pass basically 3 versions of a budget, okay, that were dependent on the actions of the Board of Trustees, because at the time, a proposal had been made to raise the cap on those student fees. They hadn't been touched in years, okay, and the reality is that, that more than our institution were at some of those caps. At the June Board of Trustees meeting, they did approve the increases to those fee caps, okay? And so the best case scenario budget that student government passed or recommended was the one that was able to go through and be approved. And so just letting you know that had those caps not been increased, we would have been in a pretty tough spot for a lot of the departments on campus, especially the departments that are most student facing. And so we're in a better spot this year than we were last year. And there was some strategy discussed about how to address some of the shortcomings that we've had over the years with those budgets. And so we'll be working with executive leadership on that philosophy and that strategy that was recommended to be continued so that we can catch up to where we need to be. And so just an update that the Board of Trustees did raise those fee caps appropriately so that your best case scenario budget could be realized for this year. So a lot of that was thanks to advocacy on the part of Students United. The Board of Directors for that group, which is the statewide student association, really pushed for the Board of Trustees to do that. They realized that there were going to be some pretty draconian measures taken if those fee caps weren't increased. And so the students pushed for that, and it went through as was hoped for this year. So just a little bit of an update there for the Board of Trustees.
Are there any other announcements? Senator Naral?
For all of the academic affairs coordinators, so that would be all of the academic senators that are here at the table, we will be meeting next week, 3 p.m. at CSU 203 Searing Room, and that will be a recurring meeting. And so I expect to see you all next week. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Senator Parikh?
Again, not an announcement, but just an introduction. Hello, everyone. I am Nithiben Parekh, and I'm gonna be also serving as the Student Affairs Coordinator. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm always with a smile, and if I'm grumpy, just leave me. Thank you.
Is there any other announcements? Senator Kissim?
Not announcement, but quick question. What room number did you say?
So that would, for academic affairs, that would be CSU 203, and let me double check, 203 Steering Room, CSU 203.
Vice President Mesta?
I just want to clarify, next week is joint committee, so everybody will be meeting as a joint committee next week. Then the following week, it will be, they'll be leading the meetings separately.
Senator Revere?
How do we go about being assigned or even showing interest in a certain committee?
There will be, to answer that question briefly, there will be a form going out. I intend to email that to all of you, probably sometime later today or tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Are there any other announcements? Any other announcements? Alrighty, then we will jump over to the roll call. Senator Hart?
Here.
Senator Henson? Senator Kasum? Senator Frawley? Senator Frawley? Senator Ali? Senator Sharab?
Here.
Senator Waldekaiden? Senator Waldekaiden? Senator Ziti? Senator Nguyen? Senator Bryant?
Here.
Senator Asma?
Here.
Senator Goma?
Here.
Senator Mohammed?
Here.
Senator Aladeji?
Here.
Senator Leistico?
You got it. Here.
Senator Andre?
Here.
Senator Mueller?
Here.
Senator Revere? Senator Godswell? Senator Godswell? Senator Bahanu? Senator Bahanu? Senator Hawk? Senator Hawk? Senator Parikh?
Here.
Senator Narala?
Present.
Senator Jha?
Here.
Senator Speltz?
Here.
Speaker Roberts here. President Reuter? And Vice President Mesta.
Here.
Alrighty, then I adjourn us at 5:16 p.m.
I didn't want to allow a vote. First team on the meatball.
Yes. Again, if you want to come get a shirt.